It's taken more than trees to make Rayonier the company it is today. Our story is really the sum of thousands of stories of passionate people who push beyond the ordinary to create something extraordinary. In 1926, our founder, Ted Mills, sees opportunity in the wood scrap sawmills are throwing away. He uses them to make high-quality pulp for books and writing paper. The Great Depression hurts the demand for paper, but we're already on the trail of a new opportunity. Our researchers team up with rayon producer DuPont to find a more affordable way to make the fabric used in clothing, bedding, and other everyday materials. We create the first high-purity cellulose pulp made from western hemlock, considered a low-value species at the time. This alternative to cotton puts our product in demand for the fast-growing textile industry. We named the pulp Rayonier, and it's so important to our business we soon changed our name to Rayonier, a combination of rayon and majestic Mount Rainier, visible from our first mill in Shelton, Washington. The new Rayonier company is soon the largest dissolving pulp producer in the world. We continued to grow in the decades that follow and become a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange in the 1930s. Recognizing the need to control the wood supply for our mills, we began buying land where timber is plentiful. Our first timberland purchase is in Northeast Florida in 1937, when we see opportunity in southern yellow pine. Our Florida and Georgia acquisitions over the next several years will supply timber to a new mill we are building in Fernandina Beach, Florida, in response to the increasing demand for rayon. It's the first to use southern yellow pine in commercial pulp production, thanks in large part to our own research team. We also buy land and entire logging companies to serve our mills in the Pacific Northwest. Business is booming when World War II comes along, but we halt most of our pulp production in Fernandina to serve our country with the production of another product our researchers figured out how to mass produce, nitrocellulose. This is a critical component for gunpowder and rocket propellants needed in the war effort. After the war, the U.S. government honors us with a 48-star flag as a thank you for our contribution. By the mid-50s, we own more than 1 million acres of timberland. Our expansion continues when we open a mill in Jessup, Georgia, to supply the growing demand for high-purity cellulose used in the manufacture of tires. With our products in demand all over the world, we open offices in Asia and Europe. Looking to the future of our wood supply, we know the sustainability of our forest is critical. In 1948, we began a reforestation program to replant when we harvest our forest. In 1955, we go a step further and open one of the first seed orchards in the U.S. South to improve our trees' growth and disease resistance. We open a seedling nursery adjacent to the seed orchard to grow the trees. This marks the beginning of our forest research program, an integral part of our business to this day. In 1962, tragedy strikes. A devastating Columbus Day storm flattens entire forest in the Pacific Northwest. Our team has to quickly find buyers for the salvaged timber, and we do, on the other side of the world. Our response to this one emergency leads to long-term export relationships with buyers in the Far East, including Japan, South Korea, and China. The decades that followed bring more transformations. In the late 70s, a naval base opens in a rural area adjacent to our South Georgia land. We set up a real estate subsidiary to identify land families will need for homes, schools, utilities, and roads. Now known as Radiant, this company continues to identify and sell properties with a higher and better use in areas where the market demands it. On the other side of the world, we recognize the growing demand for timber in Asian countries. In the late 80s, we opened a log trading office much closer to those markets in Auckland, New Zealand. A few years later, we purchased 250,000 acres of radiata pine plantation in New Zealand, giving us access to one of the most important tree-growing climates in the world. In 1985, we break the supply link between our timberland and manufacturing divisions, allowing us to auction timber to the highest bidder. This unique, non-integrated business model will prove very important in the future when we convert to a real estate investment trust, or REIT, and ultimately split into two separate publicly traded companies. ITT Corporation, a major international conglomerate, had purchased us in 1968 and helped our company expand. In 1994, ITT spins us off into an independent publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange under the symbol RYN. Rayonier continues to grow its portfolio, purchasing 1 million acres in 1999. This brings our total ownership to 2.4 million acres, making us the 7th largest private timberland owner in the U.S. We continue to grow over the next 12 years, adding another 500,000 acres to our portfolio. It's not just our robust growth that draws the attention of investors. On New Year's Day 2004, we convert from a standard tax-paying corporation into a tax-efficient REIT. This allows us to capture major tax benefits relative to timber harvesting while making us more competitive in growing our portfolio. In 2009, we're proud to plant a special tree. It's tree number 1 billion in the Southeast, and we continue to plant tens of millions more every year throughout our ownership. It's just the latest proof of how seriously we take our responsibility as stewards of the land. We're also third-party certified to the highest standards in sustainability, the Sustainable Forestry Initiative in the U.S., and both the Forest Stewardship Council standard and the Program for the Endorsement of Forest Certification in New Zealand. These certifications serve as guidelines to protect the threatened and endangered species and all waterways on our property. We also work with partners to place the most precious resource on our land into conservation. As our land base expands, so do the ways we use it. A land resources team is assembled to manage our non-timber businesses, growing traditional businesses like hunting and field dirt, and developing new ones like pine straw, minerals, and access for clean energy companies. Radiant becomes an even more important part of our business, identifying higher and better use properties and enhancing them into residential, commercial, and industrial lands, which significantly increases their value. In 2014, Rayonier's pulp manufacturing business is spun off into an independent publicly traded company, Rayonier Advanced Materials. Our company, Rayonier Incorporated, becomes a pure-play timber company with some limited and focused real estate development. That means we are focused on forestry, which allows us to zero in on opportunities for growth in the timber sector without competing for investment capital with the mills. This same year, Rayonier's new leadership team makes changes in Rayonier's reporting to attain a higher level of accountability and disclose more information about ourselves than any other company in our industry, making transparency something we've become known for. In 2017, Rayonier opens its headquarters in Wildlight, Florida, as the first occupant of the first master plan community by Radiant. The building is designed to foster collaboration across Rayonier's teams with the fitting address, 1 Rayonier Way. On May 8, 2020, Rayonier acquires Pulp Resources, a long-established Pacific Northwest timber company headquartered in Poulsbo, Washington. Pulp comes with more than 45 employees, 125,000 acres of timberlands, a timber fund, and a real estate business. Our two companies are closely aligned in our values, our emphasis on employee empowerment, and our approaches to timber and real estate management. Today, Rayonier is proud that our employees continue to challenge the status quo and seek opportunities beyond what's been done before, just like our founder did nearly a century ago. Because at Rayonier, the people behind our name are what has always pushed us forward. Thanks to them, our story continues to be about so much more than trees.